Episode 25. 25 episomes. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a quarter of a century, like quarter.
Quarter of 100.
But
Yeah.
yeah, around a quarter.
Yeah. Quarter of something. So,
We can
uh,
rent a car.
my name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined as always by Michael Swick.
Week 4 is week 4 of quarantine.
I
Speaking of numbers,
don't even know what day it is, dude.
dude, I kind of like my whole week is around like, okay, does Sarah need to get up for work? And what day do I record? Those are like the
Yeah.
only. That's how I know it's not the weekend.
My boss is like, "What day do you want off next week?" And I go, it doesn't matter. One that ends in Y, because it's not like you can do
Yeah.
anything differently."
It's like, can I get them back to back? No, then I don't care.
Yeah. All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that releases every Thursday morning on podcast services of your choice. If you could leave us a review and share the podcast, that would be appreciated. Numbers are wonky. High, low, high, low, high, low. So it is what it is. If you guys are listening, we appreciate it. If you're behind, high, maybe you're out of quarantine. Probably not.
By the time you're listening to this, for some of the people I know that are backlogged with podcasts, the world might be a better place now, or not.
It's 50-50 either way. There's really no in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, if you could just share the show any way possible and follow us on anywhere that any service that you use, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, the Facebook group, Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, any of those. We're there. You can just search Digital Days Gaming and you should find us. Discord as well. And most of those links are in your show notes, so we're not going to go through a whole rigmarole of all that. We're going to get right into it, and we're going to jump into the news.
News is kind of light in this new world. So light that last week PlayStation broke the internet by just showing pictures of their controller for the PS5. So the first news story is the first images and details of the DualSense controller, which is going to bring a sense of touch to PS5. So gone is the DualShock handle that they've been using since the PS2, and now it's all about sense. And let's just start with the optics. What do you think of this controller? It's a two-tone controller, white with like it doesn't look like the usual black. It almost looks blue to me when I'm looking at it. What are your thoughts on this controller? And then we'll go into some of the details with it. But yeah, we're doing an audio podcast talking about a picture. Sorry. Desperate times.
I don't really care. It's a controller. So, in terms of, it's not a make or break thing for me. When I saw it, I'm like, okay, that looks cool. But it's just what I think is the one that they feel is the most visually appealing right now. Like there's going to be 100 controllers or 100 colors of this controller. So.
Yeah. It does, with that color choice that they picked, give it more of a futuristic vibe. Like I immediately thought of Detroit Beyond Human or Become Human. And because it is that color scheme of the Cybertech Corporation. I don't mind it. People were kind of freaking out. I mean, visually, it is very much closer to an Xbox controller than the DualShock 4 was, which is fine. I don't mind the Xbox controller.
It looks like a Scuff Impact.
Kind of, yeah, actually. They tweak little things here and there with just the visual design. It looks like it has the D-pad from the Vita, which was a pretty good D-pad, though the buttons...
Yeah, like is it going to be like that gel button feeling, kind of? You know, not gel. Yeah, like it's not gel, but like it's almost like a clear coating. Like my Elgato Stream Deck has it as well, and it's I'm gonna use the word again. Even it's like a jelly kind of look to it, like but it still has like it's a plastic coating on the outside.
It's funny. People were worried when they saw it because because of the color scheme and what they did with the buttons, it makes it look like it's flush with the actual shell, but it's not. They're using like a transparent top, which I think gives it that like gel look, like it's going to be squishy, but I don't think they'll fuck that up. I think it's going to feel like the controller usually feels. I like it. It gives me hope that we might not just have a plain black console at launch. We might have a two-tone looking console, which would be kind of cool, because the Xbox One is just kind of boring just because it's just a tower, a PC tower. But I have a feeling we're probably going to get a PC tower with the PS5. It's just going to be like two-tone colors.
It'll have a white wall on the left side.
Yeah, because based on how they're doing everything, unless that heating technology is like really cutting edge and they can do a cool shape, I just think it's gonna look like a tower. But let's go into some of the details of the DualSense. So they are going with haptic feedback to replace the standard rumble. There's going to be trigger. The triggers are going to have like actuators and haptic feedback in it to like make tension with your button presses, which sounds cool. Like the thing they've been advertising about this, I think they mentioned it a couple times when they talked about the PS5, but like drawing a bow will have some pressure in the button press, and if you're it'll give you different sensations with the haptic feedback and that tension in the triggers, which sounds cool. It also sounds super gimmicky, almost
if
like something
the developers use it.
Exactly. It's gonna be like the touchpad, where it's just like, yeah, it's cool.
That's what I'm afraid of. Like, yeah, there might be some, the thing that like immediately jumped to my head was like when you played God of War and he's like jamming the spikes into the doors when he's opening up the doors, and it would tell you like through rumble and feedback of where you needed to be. Like it would get more intense or less intense if you weren't in the right area. But I also don't feel like if you played with a different controller or if you played with rumble off, there was still a visual indication in it as well. So I feel like it's just one of those things, unfortunately, that in this case, first party studios will use.
They will use it until no one uses it at all. Like they're basically going to be the tech demo for other developers to like, hey, you can do this cool stuff with it, and then no one will do anything with it. At least that's how pessimistic I am with any sort of gimmick that PlayStation, every time they have a new console, they add to their controllers. And it's just like,
right.
6-axis was supposed to be like revolutionary in a PS3, and it fucking was garbage within the second year. And then the touchpad was supposed to so many cool things because it's, like it's an actual touchpad. And it just became the map button. You just click it for the map on most games.
Yep.
Other features with this, they are going to do a rechargeable battery again. So unlike Xbox that are just doing batteries, which is funny, because Xbox were asked about why are they still doing AA batteries, and they said that's what the audience demanded, or like they said they were split, and most people wanted to use AA batteries. I don't know how true that really is, though. I guess the AA batteries probably have a little bit longer of a life than how often you have to charge like a DualShock controller, but I would still prefer to plug in and recharge, which I'm glad. And it's using USB-C, which means it'll be a faster charge, and you don't have to worry about. It will. I mean, the Nintendo Switch has a pretty fast charge.
It does, yeah.
And we're just talking about just an actual controller, and it's also USB-C, which means you don't have to like mess up and get the USB cord in the wrong way.
I don't know how hard this would be to do, but it would be pretty cool, like with our phones and stuff like that. Like if you could just set your controller on top of your console and it would just charge.
They would have to go glass,
which
would probably be like if they can figure out. I feel like that's like next gen move of just getting a controller, whatever like glass that they need to get durable. That would be great, but I would love that if I just put it on my console, because that's where I place my controllers anyways. It's usually right on top of my console. But yeah, until we can get like glass shells that don't break. They're removing the share button and making a create button, which gives me hope that they're going with a create button as a branding, because they're going to give you more options for what you can do in the create share mode, which specifically selfishly for us, I hope that means like more options streaming, and you can get more creative instead of just hitting share and going. You can get
I mean like maybe like a clip button or something like that would be great, like integration with Twitch or something with Mixer, or even with YouTube, like auto upload a 30-second clip to YouTube, like let it truly happen in the background like we thought it was supposed to with the PS4.
That I'm hoping that's why they're rebranding it, because it's more than just a share button now. It's a create button, but that just could be whatever. And then the feature that I hate the most, or I think I'm going to hate the most, there is going to be an array mic built into the controller.
So something I'm going to automatically mute and turn off entirely.
You will automatically mute and turn off, but a ton of fucking people will not do that, and you're going to hear button mashing. An array microphone, we've seen array technology. There's that cool thing we saw last year at E3, that sound bar that just shoots the audio in a specific way that no one on the sides can hear it or behind it can hear it. It's that sort of technology in a controller. It's not perfect, but the fact that the mic's going to be so close to you pressing buttons worries me, unless the buttons are kind of jelly. And
Well, I'll tell you what worries me the most now that you just mentioned that, though. So, like, what you're talking about is essentially directional audio,
yes.
where if you're not positioned properly, then you don't hear it. A lot of retails use it for like televisions and other things like that. When you walk directly in front of it, you can hear it very well. When you are 45 degrees away from it or angled from it, you don't hear it as well. When you're 90, you don't hear it at all. The first instinct that comes to mind, though, is this is something that happens with me a lot. So I'm left-handed, and I obviously have a wedding ring on my left hand. And sometimes when I can still remember going all the way back to like early Destiny and using auto rifles a lot. And the auto rifles consistently shoot continuously, like any auto rifle does in any shooting game. And it would clank against my wedding ring. My controller would shake against my wedding ring, to the point where I actually had to reteach myself how to hold the controller, because not only could I hear it, but people in the party chat could hear it. The distance of where I hold my controller down by my waist, picking it up on the microphone by my mouth. They would hear the and that is something that could happen automatically. That would just, I feel like audio wise would get picked up right away.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, there are some people that massively abuse their controllers.
Dude, not only abuse it, but I don't remember if you were super into multiplayer games at the time.
Yeah, because you could be like this, like.
Yes, exactly. They need to account for that. No matter how good those mics are, that's going to be picked up. What worries me the most is you're going to have people, like when cameras started to be a thing, where people would leave their Kinects plugged into their 360s or the PlayStation Eye camera plugged into their PS3, and they would forget that it had a microphone, and it would just be a hot mic running all fucking time. And they would, just have the mic above their TV, so the speakers would pick that all up, and it made multiplayer kind of annoying in hell. 360 era with the Kinect, and then when everyone was picking up the PlayStation Eye,
yeah,
it was super annoying. But
so
also with them,
you don't like to hear other people's family like baking or mixing something in 2 rooms over, like in the like running their KitchenAid mixer. No. Like you don't want to hear that.
No, only thing worse than that are like children screaming in the background and wanting attention when someone's trying to focus on something. But what also worries me is like how much like the people that forget to turn that off are probably going to be the ones that complain about the battery life the most, because that will probably drain your battery a lot. I was really hoping, I mean, it's hard to tell with the pictures of the controller. I hope there's a push to talk button and it's only push to talk, and it's not just a hot mic the entire time you have that controller on until you mute it.
Yeah.
Push to talk would have to be something for this, because it will probably drain the battery. And there's so many different features on this controller now that the battery life probably isn't that great.
Well, that was something I wanted to talk to you about as well. Is like, I think that the angles of these pictures are very on purpose.
Oh, for sure.
Do you think that there's any back button stuff on any paddle, any sensor, any Astro style buttons on the back of this controller?
I don't think so.
I do.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if they're there, but why would they hide that?
Because they're not ready to show you what it does yet or how it works.
I guess. I can totally see that being a thing of they're thinking like, oh, that would be a cool thing to show. But me, personally, if I saw a press conference and they're like, oh, the controller has back buttons, I'll be like, okay. I love my Astro controller. I don't fucking use the back buttons.
Right. I don't remember. Like, does the new Series X controller have any back buttons? I know the Elite does. Like the Elite 2
No,
does.
it's just the Elites that have it, which is why they said the Elites will work on the new one. So as
Okay.
far as I know, the Xbox controller, which is funny, the DualSense blew up the internet, which is just funny how much PlayStation when they leak the or not leak they give out just a little bit of information and it just breaks the internet every time. But Xbox then put a GIF or a video up with their controller, and their controller is pretty much unchanged. But I don't believe it has any sort of back triggers. But I was shocked that like they didn't show us if it did or not. Especially they're selling an attachment
Right.
for
Or like even hint at a competitive controller.
Mhm. Maybe they'll do something with that, but I don't know. Overall thoughts on this controller? I mean, I think you pretty much said it earlier, but it's just like it's a controller. You need to hold it.
It's fascinating to me, and it's become more relevant or more in my head over the last couple of months of going from playing the Switch in handheld mode, playing with the wired controller that I picked up, using an Xbox controller on my PC, and using my DualShock 4. It takes me about 4 minutes to adjust and rethink, and then I just then it's second nature.
Yeah.
So, except for I have a problem with Nintendo, their confirm button is not in the same spot as everybody else's.
Man, let me tell you, anytime Sarah watches me play Animal Crossing and I fuck up a prompt because I'm just so used to hitting, X, which is B for confirm.
Yeah.
I mess up so much in Animal Crossing because I'm just constantly just like, oh, no, I thought PlayStation in my head. No.
So, but yeah, I it's cool. It's looking, I don't think that, I have a feeling that there's maybe more colors or more of a theme to this, like you said, that might be matching the console, because at this point, why wouldn't you just show a black controller? Like, that was obviously on purpose, but it just looks like the next step forward in the controller. I feel like anything cool or fancy that they put into it, like we just mentioned, will just be used by first party and in small capacities and optional, because they've learned that the consumers don't like to be forced into or pigeonholed into doing something that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
So it's a controller. I'd rather see a game.
I would too. I feel like we're really close to them just having to do the announcement. I'm still picking end of May to be their thing, especially now that E3 Digital isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like June's wide open again. Though, speaking of which, I didn't put this in a news story, but Jeff Keighley announced that he's working with Steam again to do a summer games festival where they're gonna have developers putting presentations on and then also having demos or experiences for their games available on Steam to be playable. So probably why Jeff Keighley didn't want to do E3, and this probably will be the future of how E3 E3 stuff will go, especially if this is successful. That's one of the things that, being someone who's watched E3 for a long time and then going to E3 for a long time, it's night and day in terms of like, I could never go back to just watching E3 because it's just watching it and then not actually getting your hands on the game, is kind of problematic. Or not problematic, but it's not the same. So Steam is going to do this summer event with Jeff Keighley, and Jeff Keighley promised the festival will come to other platforms, which probably just means Xbox or Nintendo because they're more open than PlayStation is right now.
Mm-hmm.
That could be, now that we know that that's happening. Gamescom apparently is still set to happen, though who knows? Yeah, who knows exactly what that means. But PlayStation now has June as a possibility for when they can finally fucking announce and show this console off. Hopefully they do, but who knows how that's going to end up going. They have to be soon, right? Like, they're showing a controller now. Is it a couple weeks away, or do you think it's a couple months away from them actually showing?
I don't care what the console looks like at this point in time. I just
No,
want
but like a presentation.
I think they're waiting for Microsoft. And I think that COVID-19 has changed the entire landscape of everything right now, that they're trying to figure out what's the best way to do this and to get attention for it. Because one of the things that is very common on any of these reveals is, okay, here's our console, here's 4 to 6 games that are coming for it. Here's your opportunity for press and media to check them out. Like that last part is not viable.
Yes.
And how they're going to be able to do a presentation without anybody, without the Greg Millers or the IGNs or the GameSpots or any of these people, Digital Foundries, getting their chance to play the stuff or to see the stuff physically in front of them, not through a presentation or us wondering, is that rendered? Is that gameplay? Is that somebody playing it? Is it a demo? Is it blah, 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 blah? Like that entire landscape of how they're going to be able to present that is changed. And it's not going to get any better in the next 4 to 6 months in terms of, I don't care if they say in 2 weeks that on May 1st, like, hey, we got the all clear, we got this under control. Like, I'm not going to a baseball game. I'm not going to a movie theater. Like, not within the first couple of weeks. Like, I'm not getting on a plane. Like, not unless I absolutely like something like of the utmost important happens and I need to get on a plane. Like, so I don't know, like at this point in time, and the only thing that could possibly save them is for them to have another, if they're presenting some form of game and a gameplay, is to have another Uncharted 4 moment where he fell through the map, where everybody's like, wow, okay, that actually happened. Like it showed them that it wasn't pre-rendered, and they had to restart the level during the presentation, and somebody was live playing it. And as much as people like laugh at that, like for people or lots of consumers that are looking at something, that answered a lot of questions of like, it didn't have the Watch Dogs effect.
Same subject, but different question. Do you think PlayStation has a presentation in the chamber ready to go? No. See, because you don't think like the developers have games for them to show at a presentation?
No, I think there's stuff that they can have ready to show. I just think that there's still things that they're figuring out, like especially like the rumors that we've heard about like getting their parts and things like that. I think that's the other reason that we haven't really seen like a spec breakdown or anything like that. Like Microsoft have come out and kind of pretty sort of said what's inside of it. And Sony,
I think Microsoft has one in a chamber. Yeah, most likely. And if they can put a presentation tomorrow if they probably wanted to.
Yeah, and I think Sony's close, but there's a lot of things that they're still trying to figure out, which is fine. Like I want them to still be adjusting and adapting and evolving and figuring out what they are or aren't going to be doing. But at this point in time, like if you're not going to show any games or gameplay, you need to start showing features more than what your controller is. Like I need to know now at this point in time, like what does create button mean? Only because I know what it is. I need to know how this is going to function in a day-to-day social gaming world.
Yeah. Do you think they just have a blow-off presentation, or do you think we get more stuff like the controller?
What else are you going to show, though? Like, are you going to show the back of the console and let people rip it to shreds?
Do you get here's what the create button does? Like how, like if the create thing is so important to their plan, do you think we get like, oh, here's a blog post, here's why it's a create button, here's all the things you could do in create, here's Discord support? They're ruling the internet every time they drop information. So if they really wanted to just continue this piecemeal, like slowly feed the audience stuff, they probably could do it. Would that be smart, or do you just want a big blow-off presentation, like a 90-minute? No, here's games, here's features.
I don't think that like a showcase is something they need to do. If they're going to do something like every 2 or 3 weeks, like I'd probably be okay with that, leading up into like showing the price of the game. But they've even gotten the most fascinating part about it is, and this is both with Xbox and and Sony, they've gotten the third-party developers to completely shut their mouths.
Oh, it's been pretty damn silent, which
And
is
I
kind
don't
of
know
amazing.
how. Like I don't get it. Like if these are coming out in the holidays, allegedly, um,
Mhm.
these other developers, like people want to know what they need to be thinking about getting the people that buy 1 or 2 games a year, or that are going to buy the console and pick the one game that they're going to play for a month, or the 2 games they're going to play for the first 90 days of systems out. They need like that, like how are they keeping Ubisoft quiet? How are they keeping Activision quiet? How are they keeping these studios quiet? And other than the studios that are saying, yeah, our game's going to just be shinier on the next console.
With some very good legal team of working and keeping the threats going. Yeah, I'm surprised, especially now that more developers are working from home. I'm surprised we haven't seen more leaks about certain things. But yeah, they've been pretty quiet. All the console makers have been really quiet, or been able to keep people quiet. We see leaks here and there, but it's stuff that looks too fake to believe.
Yeah, it's just,
But
I mean, you're starting to see a little bit more the last couple of days, even. Like, you're starting to see some other things like trickle out a little bit, but nothing like crazy yet.
yeah. Let's move on to the next story because we talked way too long about a controller. This one should be a quick one. Stadia Pro, or whatever it's called, Stadia Pro, are giving away 2 free months, and Stadia Regular is just available now. So they kind of opened the floodgates for Stadia. This news came out and no one gave a damn, because I think that's just where Stadia's at right now.
So, yeah, I mean, I got the email because, like, I got the buddy pass that I terribly did a bad job and not used it at all, and got charged for it once or twice. And then I was like, oh, crap, I got to stop this.
Yeah.
What does it mean that Stadia as a service is available? Is it what I've been asking for, that if I want to play Division 2 on Stadia, that I can just buy it for $60 and plug my controller into my Chrome browser and just play, and I don't have to have a console, and I own the game forever?
As long as you have a Gmail account, apparently, according to Eurogamer.
Okay.
Which it seems to be true, because before Stadia became available, or before the Pro promotion came out, I was on the Stadia app, even though my subscription, or my buddy pass or whatever, expired like a month ago.
Right.
I was able to purchase a game.
Okay.
And was able to start the game up without any issues. And then they announced Pro is going to be available for 2 months, which is their service, with the free games a month.
Right, but if you don't have a Pro subscription, you don't get access to those free games, just like PlayStation Plus or games with gold, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So, but now you can at least buy games piecemeal without having a Pro membership, which wasn't the case before.
Right, which is the fascinating part to me of where the console-less purchasing is the part that's very interesting to me. Mm-hmm. But I would have to see how a game truly runs like that. And I can do it. Like I can, like I saw some email about a couple games that I don't have it off the top of my head, but the one you saw at E3 last year or 2 years ago, like the book style.
Yeah, that's available, and that's the game I ended up picking up. I haven't played it yet. But...
Okay. Yeah, because I remember, like, when I saw that, I was like, Michael really liked that. Is that on Stadia only right now, or is it on other services?
Stadia only for right now, I believe. Okay. I believe it's a Stadia exclusive for a month or two. Sadly, I bought it, but then I immediately forgot what it was. It's in like something words. Hold on. I got the Stadia app on my phone, so I could just
yeah, but I mean, like, that's the part like that I've always been talking about, and we've been discussing constantly. Like, if this really works, like they're trying to do it, where you get the direct connection to the server. Like, for me, I have a decent PC, but not a really good PC. So if I can get 60 frames or more and get 1080p. With just a good connection to the internet, which I have, is this a more viable option for me to play a game like Cyberpunk on, where I don't have to worry about owning a console or having a high-end PC?
This is going to be the test. It sucks though, because they fumbled so hard at the quote unquote launch of this. No one gives a shit, and people I feel like if they would have launched like this, like, hey, the free service, like the buy single individual games was available day one for people to use, it probably would have had a better like reaction from people. But now that it's come out several months later, no one kind of cares. But ideally, yeah, like you could just buy Cyberpunk $60 without having a
Mm-hmm.
console and then run it in a Chrome browser.
That's a big deal if it works.
Chromecast support still isn't there unless you have a special Chromecast,
Yeah.
but at least the Chrome browser thing works. But that would be huge. But the problem is, like what I said earlier, like they announced this and there's like no real fanfare. No one kind of gave a shit. I didn't even really see people talk about it, but it's like, hey, if you want to try Stadia, you can now. And you purchase stuff through the Google Play Store, so it's like no big deal.
Right.
But yeah, because like Doom Eternal is now on Stadia. I don't think the first Doom is available, which is kind of funny. I'd have to double check that. The game that I picked up in the game you were talking about is called Lost Words Beyond the Page.
There it is.
And it's a $15 game. I really wanted to pick the game up on the Switch or the PlayStation, but I was like, you know what? I can test Stadia out, so I bought it, and I'll probably try to play it from a Chrome browser. I wish I could. I have two Chromecasts, but neither one of them are whitelisted or whatever you need to get done.
Yeah, they need to,
or they don't
need
have
to
the
fix
firmware.
that too. Like that needs to be like the next thing that they do within the next month. Because if I could somehow plug like my current Xbox controller into my television and play Division or play Cyberpunk or play Darksiders or whatever, and not have to worry about having a console or just as long as I have a decent internet connection, like that's a big deal depending on how it runs.
And I use the DualShock for Project X Cloud, and I use the DualShock controller for Stadia because it's Bluetooth, and you could just just hit a button combination, and then you got just a plain Bluetooth controller.
Mm-hmm.
But it sucks being limited to either my gaming PC, which can then I could just buy the game. I could buy games for my game PC that could run most games. So there's no point in me to use Stadia on my gaming PC.
Right.
Or I can run it off my Chromebook.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest selling point for it, though, is like, and again, I haven't seen it work or not, but like, is for you to be able to take a Chromebook to, let's say you take it to work and you're on lunch and your store's Wi-Fi is decent, or your lunch is your company's Wi-Fi is decent. You're in the break room or at your desk during your lunch, and you're the ability to flip open your Chromebook and play a game.
Mm-hmm.
Or to play your library. Like that's the part that's significant. Not having to take a console with you. Like I've talked about it before, like me being able to go to my parents' house and the possibility of just throwing the Chromecast in my backpack and a controller in my backpack and go to my parents' house and plug this thing in to their HDMI port on the back of their TV and connect it to the internet, and I have my 10 games that I always play and they're right there and they work. Like that is significant.
Dude, I've experimented with that in terms of like I keep a DualShock controller hidden at my work. And I was using it for Project X Cloud and I used it for Stadia a little bit, and it's kind of great, just a couple times I took the controller
your
home.
Phone. Like I have unlimited data on my phone. Like for me to like just carry that clip or leave it at my store and my desk and I'm on lunch, or like, and I can just clip my controller or clip my phone to the controller stand and just play.
And my phone is an Android phone, so I can just screencast the entire phone to a Chromecast screen, which I've done. It adds a little bit more input lag, which is why I really hope Stadia can just fucking release the firmware so I could just use my Chromecast natively.
Right.
But even then, using like Project xCloud, having my screen casted, it was fine. There was more lag than there was already with the game being streamed, but it wasn't like completely unplayable to where it's just like I've seen this stuff work. It's kind of nice and convenient.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you and I did at the Airbnb last year. Like I brought my Chromecast, we plugged it into the TV, and then either your phone or my phone, we were watching something, we just put it on the bigger screen. That's how we watched all the press conferences. Like I don't care what's provided, as long as I know that there's a television there and I have access to an HDMI port and you have internet. Like you're good.
How great would it have been for you well, if Destiny was connected to the other platforms and not in its own ecosystem. But I could imagine you at E3, just being like, I'm just gonna hop on Destiny with some people with just a Chromecast and your controller.
Right.
Like you probably would have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but again, there's so many little like hurdles that are. It's just too soon. Like they're presenting some really cool technology, and I think that without the cross play being fully integrated into all of the networks, they're just a little ahead of their time.
And just the fact that they're even ahead of themselves because they just haven't.
Yeah.
It doesn't run on the Chromecast unless that firmware came in because I it's been like a month since I've tried it, but as far as I know, it still doesn't have the
I think that would have been on the top of any of our emails that we would have gotten from them.
For sure. But it wasn't. So all right. Last story. This one is just hey guys, everything's gonna be all right. Cyberpunk 2077, it is moving pretty well, despite the fact that the studio had to become a work-at-home studio. They're still on target for their September release date. Sounds like the game is fully done. It's just extra polish now at this point. And it's gotten to the point where it's been rated by almost every rating board that matters, or at least a majority of the rating boards have already rated the game. They did a investor call, so a lot of news came out from that. The game, it looks like they're going to have the same amount of content, or not the exact same amount of content, but close to the amount of content that came out for Witcher 3, which Witcher 3 had a bunch of free small updates, like new weapons, new game plus. They brought content for several months to the game, and also had 2 major paid expansions that made the world larger and just added more story. So we can expect that amount of content for Cyberpunk 2077, which is good. They said they will detail that DLC stuff when they get closer to the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. So there's that. There's one thing that people kept talking about on this, which is why I thought I'd bring it up. Sounds like there isn't going to be an Xbox Series X or PS5 version of the game at launch. It is going to take a little bit of time, they said, before they have a native version of those games available for purchase. This won't affect the smart delivery for the Xbox One and Xbox Series X. That's still going to be there. It's just that version of the game will run with slightly better features, but a full-blown, this was developed for the next-gen consoles, won't be there at launch or at the launch of the new platforms.
Because they're going to make it like they're going to bundle it with the Game of the Year edition, probably.
Most likely, like a year later, a year after the consoles come out, you'll have the Cyberpunk 27.
This would be a version of the game that you would have to buy again.
Yes, it would. And that would at least justify it to people, or they can justify it of like, hey, not only is it Cyberpunk 2077, but it's also all the DLC.
So we're talking about the possibility of 3 different versions of this game.
Yes and no.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of, because
so the current gen version that's going to come out in September, right? September? Yeah.
Yes.
The what I keep calling shinier version that'll just, when you put your PS4 or Xbox One disc in your next gen console, or your code that just automatically your version of your backwards compatibility, which just works on your next gen console. And now a full blown next gen SKU within the next 12 to 18 months, because remember, Microsoft has said there, and maybe it's just from Microsoft first party, but there will be no X Series 1 or Series X exclusives for the first 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. Which, if they just marked this as a Game of Year edition, they wouldn't be lying, basically. It's funny, though, you did mention there's a little bit of confusion with they wouldn't comment on the smart delivery thing happening for PlayStation for PS4 to PS5. And a lot of people took that as, oh, so Sony's not going to have any sort of program like that available. And they later clarified that they can't talk about it because there's nothing announced. Like they can't confirm that it exists, and they can't deny that it exists because Sony hasn't announced anything. I feel like the pressure would be on Sony to match the smart delivery of the Xbox Series X. They would be fucking crazy not to. But who knows how that's going to go. But the reason they confirmed the smart delivery for the Xbox and Xbox Series X is because that is a feature that has been announced.
Correct.
So
again, somehow, whether it's through legal or through something, that Sony has control of these companies, and CD Projekt Red is a company of like, I do what I want.
They do what they want, but they also, I mean, they would have to be smart enough to be like, hey, we don't want to blow it. But we'll see. I still think Sony would be crazy not to match. Right now, I feel like the Xbox has been hitting all the consumer-friendly marks, and Sony has to play catch-up with those, so it'd be crazy for that not to be a thing, especially when the systems are backwards compatible.
Yeah, I expect it to be essentially boost mode on these systems, like what we got with the Pro.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows, obviously. But I would fully expect it to just work. There's so many games that have already kind of been confirmed for next gen, like whether it's Rainbow Six or Overwatch and Overwatch 2's combination. Just all the stuff that's just going to work on these next gen consoles. For Sony to come out and say, yeah, sorry, it won't be any better. It'll just be what you were playing on your PS4. Like, that would just be another notch in the belt for Microsoft of a reason for you to buy a Series X.
Yeah, they have to.
And it would also affect. I think it would have their announcement on this would affect current gen sales as well, because if people know that they're going to get the upgraded, shinier version on Xbox, then they're going to buy the Cyberpunk on Xbox.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm leaning to just buying Cyberpunk on PC.
Sounds like the safer bet.
Because it's a safer bet, and I already know the PC version, like the console versions that release, are just gonna try and get as close to Ultra on PC as they can. And it's like I could try doing Ultra day one, or I wait for the next console, or smart delivery to bail me out. So it's like a no-brainer. Just like, I have the option, I should probably just get it on PC, though I'll probably be stupid and pick it up on console anyways, just because that's where my living room TV's at, and I don't want to run an HDMI cord across the room.
All right. So
the only other thing, I didn't put it in, the Uncharted movie got delayed till October of next year, or I think October of next year. All the studios basically moved all their video game releases, all their movie releases over. Like, Black Widow's not now coming out November 6th. Eternals is February.
Didn't like Marvel just sit there and say, okay, everything goes forward one show, like one movie?
Yeah, they basically all the Marvel movies just moved into another Marvel movie slot. So like Eternals was going to release on November 6th. Now Black Widow is going to release November 6th. They had an unannounced game or unannounced movie coming out in February. Well, Eternals is moving to February.
Yeah. I saw like some little image of the timeline, which was just like those little like loops where it's like connect the dot, like this goes to here and this goes to here and this goes to here, and I was just like, okay. But no, it's fascinating to see the impact on this. The other stuff that, like, the impact of what COVID's doing, and we won't truly, from a media standpoint, like a media consumption standpoint, video games, music, movies, won't truly feel this until like January, February, like in terms of like all the stuff that's happened. But like, as an example, not that it was like on a super high plane or it wasn't doing like super great, but COVID-19 killed the XFL again.
Yes, it killed it, and It was doing well. It was doing better than it was
okay.
last time.
Yeah, it was doing
better
okay.
than last time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't like getting shut down because of payroll problems. You weren't hearing about the crazy, like, and it seemed like things were doing all right. Like it was getting a footing and developing, and now they're just like we can't. Like, it's like the worst case scenario for them, because like now this means, like, I feel like this means we're gonna see a third version of the XFL in another 5 to 7 years.
They filed for bankruptcy today. I just don't know, like, if they try it again. Vince McMahon is like 78 years old. Like, I don't know if they try it again.
That is not the XFL's fault. That is not the players' fault. That is not the product's fault. That is COVID-19's fault.
The plan for the XFL was Vince McMahon was going to, out of his own pocket for the next 2 to 3 years, no matter how much money it lost, would spend money out of his own pocket and hope for a TV deal. They filed bankruptcy today. Yeah, like, they're just like, we're not going to fucking try this again.
It wasn't no matter how much money that he lost. It was he would be willing to take a less profitable business for a couple of years if he had to come out of his pocket to make it break even, not to pay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, like, it was making some revenue.
Yes.
So, and it's just like, he's like, I can't just, he pretty much, he would have to bankroll it himself. And like, he could do that, but it doesn't make business sense to do it.
No, not at all. But we will probably see, so movies, we won't see the effect till like next year.
Yeah.
Because movies are usually filmed a year in advance. I think we're going to see the real effects of this on the entertainment industry in the fall for TV shows, because TV shows would probably be shot right now or over the summer, but that's not going to happen. You're probably going to see not a lot of new TV shows in the fall like you usually see. You probably see, most channels, it's like, okay, here's our 1 or 2 marquee shows, and then here's like 4 new shows that we're going to try and get hit.
The only thing I can hope is those marquee shows already had 10 or 12 episodes filmed before this got crazy. Like,
which they won't.
Yeah, otherwise, like, this fall sitcom kickoff is going to be terrible.
It's going to be bad, and we're probably going to see, which I already hate TV shows do it, but we're probably going to see seasons broken up by a couple months, kind of like how the DC shows operate, where it's like,
it's 6
hey, we're going to take a holiday break.
And then 4 weeks off, and then 4 episodes and 7 weeks off. Like, what?
Yeah, this fall, it's going to be like, instead of taking a Christmas break, they're going to take a Halloween break. Like, Halloween, holiday season, we're gone. We're probably going to see a lot of variety shows and just game shows.
Game shows, yeah. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah. But over Zoom.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Yeah, we're going to see...
Can you imagine what this would be like in September if we don't have any new shows or current shows that we enjoy watching with new stuff, and we don't have sports?
I mean, we're already seeing them do horse on ESPN or whatever. Baseball season,
they did a replay of the spelling bee.
Dude, they've been playing WrestleMania. Like, I think they played the same WrestleMania like 3 weeks in a row on ESPN.
I used to come home and put ESPN on, even if it was just background noise. In the morning, I would do it. When I would get home from work or right before I'd go to bed, I just want to see what they're talking about. And like, no, I can't. Like, I can't even watch it anymore. Like, my wife and I have been, now Boy Meets World is background sound for us. Not that it's not a criticism of the show. Like, we're watching the show, but I don't have to 100% pay attention to it all the time.
Okay.
So,
how far are you? Did Topanga and Corey get together and then break up already?
Yeah, like, I think I'm like season 4. Like, Eric's graduated high school.
Okay, so they've had at least 2 breakups since then?
I think so. Like, they went on the trip together with their brother, and they own the sporting goods store now. So.
Okay, yeah. So he cheated on her? He like kissed
Oh, not yet. No, I haven't got to that part yet. I don't think so.
Okay, yeah. Corey's a piece of shit. He's one of those people. You're supposed to like him. I actually like the college years, even though a lot of people kind of don't like the college years. I kind of like the college years.
So
I might rewatch Boy Meets World.
For me, that's what I've been watching. I've still been working, probably physically been working harder now than I did it normally, because like you could always kind of like, I have customers to help, like, and I don't have those now, so we're just consistently shipping things out of the store. So watching has been pretty much that. We did finish our watch through of like Fast and Furious all the way up to like Fast and Furious 8. It made me like curious about what 9 would be about. I went down a little YouTube hole about 9 and how they're like bringing characters back and the stuff that they showed in the trailers, just randomness. There is a lot of stuff on every subject on YouTube.
So let me just pick out this question that I was going to ask later. It's
Okay.
from Isaac, who underscore said, "What's saving your sanity? Thank goodness I bought an Xbox One in February, so I'm going through Game Pass and I haven't touched my PS4. So I believe what he's asking is what's keeping your sanity during this situation. It sounds like Boy Meets World and Fast and the Furious is keeping your sanity.
Currently, yeah, and Zelda.
And Zelda. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's been The Simpsons. Yesterday, I spent like 4 hours with Sarah just showing her like my favorite wrestling matches on the WWE network because there's like so many wrestling matches.
Oh my gosh, poor Sarah. I'm sorry.
She enjoys enough of the wrestling, so it's fine. Especially if she's got Animal Crossing in handheld mode.
You're
she
getting
can
that.
handle.
That's nice.
Yeah, she can handle 4 hours of me being like, "This is John Cena versus Sami Zayn." Sami Zayn blew his arm when he raised his hands for the crowd. So it's been wrestling, watching wrestling matches, Simpsons episodes. I've just been cherry picking my favorite episodes, which I realized the first 10 seasons is every episode. So I'm just watching out of order. And then just random video games that I just never finish. Like I'm going through Bully on Twitch, and that's been like the consistent game that I've been going to. And then I've just been dabbling in a bunch of other games. But my comfort food has been The Simpsons and wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, like it's been a lot of, just for whatever reason, we've been watching, like I said, Boy Meets World, and our Fast and Furious movies, and then so Zelda, Breath of the Wild. I'm in a love-hate relationship with this game right now because I missed the somewhat linear versions of the Zeldas that I'm used to, in terms of, like I mentioned before, like you can't get to here until you get a certain ability or weapon. And then that's how you know that like that's the next area you can go, or there's always these little secrets that you have to have something to be able to get to it. Zelda, with Breath of the Wild, it's pretty much like go wherever you want and do whatever you want. And so I've been going, kind of trying to stay on the main quest because like I'm the story of Zelda and how they recreate or retell the same story over and over again with different twists is always the thing that intrigues me the most. And the way that they're doing it, this one with the Divine Beast, is very cool. I'm very fascinated by it, but I'm still struggling with the open worldness of it because like there was, you can go to these towers, and that shows you more of the map, and then you can glide off the towers, you can cover large areas very quickly. But you run into scenarios where you don't have like the right clothing or the right potion because you're going up Death Mountain and it's too hot up there for you, so you need to have some fire resistant thing, but you only get that if you stay on the path to get to Death Mountain like a normal person would, and you run into somebody and that's a little conversation of, hey, thanks for helping me, blah 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 blah, here's this that'll help you. So that's the little bit of the problem I'm having with it. I've had to look at a couple more guides than I wanted to in terms of what to do and how to do it, because I don't know if I have the attention span right now to like, I'm going to go putz around and unlock a whole bunch of shrines to get more spirit orbs to make me have more hearts to be able to do something else. I just want to, there's a part of me that wants to be able to go down the storyline and get stronger as I go and progress through, because I keep leaving myself wondering, am I too far under leveled for the encounter that I'm in, and that's why I'm struggling with it? Or am I struggling with it because I don't fully understand the mechanic? So when I look up a guide of like how somebody's fighting a boss, currently I think I have like 6 or 7 hearts for life, and I've done a couple shrines and gotten some spirit orbs and found the praying towers that you go to, and you can get either stamina or hearts, and I've been kind of leaning towards hearts because I need the health. But then when I watch a guide of somebody like how they defeat a boss, I always see them fighting the boss with like 14 hearts and like weapons like at level 60, and I've got like weapons at like level 22. Like,
I mean, they were recording a video, so they wanted to make sure they had the best they could.
yeah, but I
video.
want your content to be relatable to me of where I'm at playing this game.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing that's like it's just really it's weird. The reason that I haven't been streaming it while I've been playing it is because I took the Switch and I hooked it up upstairs the other day, a couple days ago, when Angela had to take a Zoom call, which like my office has turned into like my son's classroom, my wife's conference room, which is fine, especially when I'm not home. But you know, and her having, you know, Zoom calls here or there. But I hooked the Switch up in our bedroom because Owen has gotten this fascination that he wants to watch me play Zelda. And yes, he 100% can watch me play Zelda in my office. But that one night that we hooked it up there, it was working out pretty well. And I just really haven't had the energy to bring it back downstairs and hook it back up downstairs again. So I've been playing it upstairs, and Owen's been having a really good time hanging out with me, sitting next to me, watching me play, telling me how bad I am at the game and what he would do differently, and then me handing him the controller and him just like proceeding to jump and swing the sword for no apparent reason. But that's kind of where I'm at with the game. The same complaint I had very early on when I was playing the game, of where I was annoyed by like the trying to go through a cold climate area and losing health as I was doing that, and having to like eat something just to get up there. That part is still lingering there for me as a little bit of a nuisance and an annoyance, although I'm getting a little bit better at it and more accustomed to it. I just wish it was a little bit more linear. And I also feel like there is this huge open world in the game, and it's big. There's very little to do in the areas as you're going from one spot to the next. So,
since we're already here, have you been playing anything else?
No,
it's just been Zelda.
Yeah, this week at least.
So that has become your like comfort game, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I still love Zelda games, and I'm enjoying it as I'm getting better at the combat and figuring things out, and you know, it's still rewarding to, you know, figure out the mechanic of the boss and just to do a huge amount of damage to him, like, and move on and progress the story and be like, okay, this is really cool. And they're like, it's getting closer, but like it hasn't had that hook moment into me yet of like where the story is like grabbed my attention and held onto it strong. It's getting there, but it's not there yet.
Have you been watching anything else?
No. Because I'm still working like 50 hours a week. So.
Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. I guess I'll just jump into my playing and watching unless you have anything else.
No, that's it. I bought Final Fantasy, but didn't muster the energy to play it. I bought it Thursday night before it came out, and I had intentions of playing it Friday night, and got home from work, and I was just kind of too tired, and I putzed around on Zelda a little bit. And then Saturday I still worked as well, and came home Saturday, and then Easter was Sunday. And then like Owen, like I'm not blaming him because I can do whatever I want. I'm a 36-year-old person. Yeah, but he's like, I get home and he's like, hey, but then like 10 minutes later he's like, can Daddy play Zelda? And it's upstairs, so like maybe I'll bring it downstairs and see if he wants to come downstairs and watch. Because I know that on the stream, for the most part, like you guys wouldn't be bothered if you randomly heard him in the background talking, or if he was hanging out with me. Like it wouldn't bother anybody if I was streaming like that. So, but it's gonna mess up your stream series on YouTube because I'm like literally like multiple hours ahead now.
That's fine. I can stop at any time.
Yeah.
I'll just have to like change up the description. Like, this isn't a playthrough. This is just a random thing. All right. For me, so this morning I saw credits in Animal Crossing. I'm like 30 to 50 hours into it. There's still a ton of stuff to do, but I guess the big goal, the first big goal, is to get KK Slider to have a concert. He had a concert, and they decided to play credits through it. But when that was happening, I was just like, what the fuck? This game better not be over. And it's not. I just opened up Terraforming, which I I'm pretty happy with the way the island looks, so there's not much I want to do with terraforming, but I'll probably clean up my island a little bit and make it more accessible. I was just happy because Easter finally ended in Animal Crossing. It fucking was terrible. As soon as they announced Bunny Day and the Bunny Day event began last week and it was going to Sunday, it kind of broke the game because the Easter Bunny hid eggs all over the game in spots. Like if you would fish, there's a chance you would pull an egg. If you dug for a treasure or fossil, an egg possibly could have came up. They hid eggs in different tasks that you would do every day, and it just kind of broke those daily tasks and were slowly killing my motivation. So then I just focused on getting tarantulas, and finally Flick visited my island, so I sold it with him. I am completely... Well, I was out of debt for a couple days, but then I added a room to my house. I don't understand. So Tom Nook, friendly guy, gives you money. I wanted an extension on my house. I wanted to add another room to my house. Okay, cool. He says like 250,000 bells. Fine, whatever. I'm going to make Tarantula Island, sell to Flick. Cool. Okay, I want to add another room to my house, and that costs 548,000 bells. I don't understand. It's the same size room as the other one, but it's double the price. It's annoying as hell. But so now I'm in debt again. But my island with Sarah is like all put together. We have bridges where we want bridges, staircases where we want staircases. So now it's just about using the amiibos to get all the villagers that we want on the island and just work on getting everything in the museum. So I'm just happy Bunny Day is over. I'm so happy Bunny Day is over.
Is there an end game?
Well, I saw credits, so I don't think so. The game has different events every season. Every couple weeks, there could be a tournament. Like there's a fishing tournament this weekend. There's a bug tournament in June. So there's always something to do in the game. So they put the credits on the KK Slider thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real end game is getting your island to be rated 5 stars. Right now, we got it to 3 stars, and that's what unlocked KK Slider visiting and putting on a concert. So I'm guessing the real end game is 5 stars, but in reality, we'll probably hit that in the summer or probably within the next month. And then it's going to be about waiting for like a summer event or a fall event, winter event, etc. So that will probably be one of those games that just doesn't end. It's a very basic MMO at that point.
Right.
The other game I'm playing, I'm currently in the process of playing it for review. It's a game called In Other Waters. It's available on PC and Switch. I am playing it on the Switch. So it's an interesting little game. It's a narrative-focused exploration game. You play as an AI that's assisting a person that is exploring the waters of an alien planet. And that person is trying to find their like mentor who like disappeared on the island or on that planet, and is trying to figure out what happened to the person while exploring this alien planet through the waters of the planet. The game is presented with a kind of a sonar map or like a sea map, but like very stylized. So it's just like green, yellow, blues colors, and it's like very bright, but you only have like the sonar view. And since you're the AI, all you have at your disposal are just very basic controls of sending the scientist like while they're in their like suits / submarine ship like along the path and trying to open up different paths for her or for this person and navigating them safely through these waters and discovering new species and then using like whatever you find to assist you in getting through this world. It's pretty cool. It's well written so far. It's since it's narrative focused, it's dialogue options. As the AI, you can answer the person that you're helping with just yes or no's, and they'll respond differently whether you say yes or no to whatever question they ask you. And it's interesting so far. I'm guessing it's not going to be too long, but I'm hoping to dive more into it and finish it this week to do a full review for it. But so far, I'm enjoying it. It's a really like slow moving game at first. The controls took a little bit for me to get my head wrapped around it because I don't feel like it does the best job of explaining the controls. I'm using it on the Switch, and there's just they throw a lot of different tools at you at first, and you kind of have to figure that out yourself, or my reading comprehension is just terrible and I missed something, which is totally possible. But after like 10 minutes of just kind of like messing around with the controls, and it tells you can use the touchscreen for the controls or just use the buttons. And I was trying to use a combination of the touchscreen and the buttons, and then at a certain point I'm just like, I'm just not going to interact with the touchscreen, and just finding the best way to control it using the Switch.
I forget the Switch is a touchscreen.
I do too, because no games don't really ever use it that often.
Or that it has like, I guess like in Zelda you can use the bow like as a gyroscope style thing, like you can shoot it while moving the Switch around. Like I'm like, who wants to do that?
This game in particular, like the touchscreen controls are just there to because it's as an option. I was using the buttons though because it was just easier, but even then there's so many like ways they want you to use the buttons to just navigate this AI system that I wonder if keyboard and mouse would probably just be easier because I'll just be using the mouse to move around, as opposed to being like, okay, right trigger moves me through the menu of here, or like left trigger moves me through the menus, right trigger takes me out of those menus, and then zoom. There's a lot it does with like the very few control or button options you have on the Switch.
Ever since I got that controller, like I can't play the Switch in handheld mode.
I go back and forth between it. I still prefer handheld for the Switch, but
partially could be because I think my left Joy-Con's busted.
I'm starting to feel that with mine while playing Animal Crossing. That I really hope it can pull through, because I don't feel like opening it up and trying to buy any Switch accessory right now is really difficult.
That thing that the guy put on our Facebook group, I don't have his name in front of me now, where you kind of get a Q-tip, like witch hazel or something like that. And you dip the Q-tip in that, and then you kind of like jam it up underneath that rubber coating, and then you recalibrate the controller. I don't have the like a liquid that I can put in there right now, but just taking the Q-tip up and under there and kind of like cleaning out that any kind of crud that's got it underneath there, and then recalibrating the controllers has seemed to at least reduce it for me. Recalibrating the thumbsticks. I'm sorry.
My only fear is I almost want to wait for the Joy-Con just to go completely and then do that fix. Because if something goes wrong when I'm doing that fix, I don't really have an option of ordering a new one off Amazon or going to the store to get it, just because they're just kind of scarce to find like either a Switch console or accessories the last couple of times I checked. So I'm just like hoping this Joy-Con can just like pull through. Long enough for me to like get through this game and get the most out of Animal Crossing I can possibly get through. But yeah, probably full review for In Other Waters next week.
Nice.
Otherwise, I've played a little Overwatch, played a little bit more Strange Brigade, and then I've been watching a shit ton of Valorant, which is the new game from Riot Games. It's a tactical shooter. It's, I think, Counter-Strike mixed with a hero shooter like Overwatch. It's very, very twitchy because it's Counter-Strike, and it has the elements where, before each round you can swap out your weapons by buying the weapons based on how well you did in the previous round. It's one of those things where it's heavily focused on gameplay more than style. If you look at it currently in its beta form, there's not really a lot going on visually. It has like the basic textures of a Counter-Strike, kind of character designs between like an Overwatch and Team Fortress 2 in terms of like how they're stylized. But like the effects that the characters do aren't really anything to like wow you. But it's also partially probably because it's Riot Games, and League of Legends is known for being able to run like on anything. Like on any computer, you can run League like pretty well, and like even like the worst computer. So I have a feeling that's what they're kind of trying to achieve with this by keeping the look of the game, as simple as possible. It looks cool. Currently, in order to get into beta, because I didn't make it through the first wave of media, one day we will. You connect your Riot account to your Twitch account, and then you just watch streamers that are playing the game, and then as long as they are streaming the game correctly through like the game application, you'll get a random drop. That's the only way to get into beta access, is to watch streamers.
But I don't even think you have to be watching. I think you just have to have it linked, and I don't think you have to be actively watching.
Well, that's like I've been actively watching in the background on my Switch, but then also like before I go to bed, I load up Twitch and then just let Twitch run overnight, because you just have to have a stream open. You don't have to be like engaging in the chat. You just have to have a Valorant stream running, and then you could possibly get a drop. 3 days, haven't got one, haven't got a drop. So I'm just
doesn't sound like you're alone. One. There's some pretty big creators too that didn't get drops either.
Yeah, and it's a fucking nightmare in the chat rooms for the people that do have the game, and have just people screaming for a drop, and then having the creators have to tell people like, it is a random drop. I cannot give you a key or anything. There's nothing I can do. You just have to watch and hope to get a drop.
It's actually a really interesting way to handle it, because it takes off the complete stress off of any creator or streamer, or like trying to give away codes and figure out a way to give away codes and access to stuff. Like, this is just, hey, watch our product, and if you watch our product, you might have a chance to play.
And it also, like, oh my god, the Valorant was breaking records like the first like 2-3 days of the streamers just getting a ton of new eyes on their feeds. Mm-hmm. Even like small time streamers like saw their streams just blow up because they had the game and drops were enabled on their stream.
Yeah, and people thought if you were only watching somebody that had 100 people, you had a higher chance of getting in than if you're watching somebody that had 5,000 people watching them. So.
At least, like, no one's expressly said that, but I was going by that logic the first like 2 days of just like, hey, this person's only got 100 people watching. Summit has 250,000 people watching. Pokimane has 100,000. So I was just like, okay, I'm not going to watch them. I'm going to watch the person who's got 1,000 people watching and hope I do better. But I don't know if it quite works like that, sadly, because I didn't get shit. It has been interesting, though, watching like the top streamers like Tim the Tatman, Lyric, Summit play this game. And because it's new, it's in beta, you have some of the best like first-person shooter people just kind of out of their element as they learn this new game and all of its mechanics, seeing them struggle and get frustrated because they day one weren't godlike players. It's been kind of interesting watching them figure this game out and see that you see the wheels turning in their head as they figure out mechanics for this. But then also some streamers you see that's just like, oh, this isn't going to be their game, but they have to play this game because it is the hottest thing on Twitch right now. You're not going to get crazy numbers playing Fortnite right now. You're going to only get crazy numbers playing Valorant right now. So watching all the best streamers all focus on this game that's too new for them to have mastered has been fascinating to watch. But also you just see the people that are just naturally good at games, and it's almost frustrating where it's just like, game's been out an hour and this person is just like on a whole other level of the competition is just kind of insane. So I'm watching a ton of Valorant, hoping I get a drop. Have not got a drop yet. I definitely know, Dave, you probably wouldn't like it because I told you that there's no controller support for this game, and you're just immediately like, nah. You're like, I'm done. Other than that, High Score Girl Season 2 dropped last week. That was my spotlight. It was 8 or 9 episodes, finished it in 2 sittings. fantastic. Highly recommend it, Dave. I think even you would like it. You and Angela would.
I've watched a little bit of it. Like a month ago, I watched the first couple episodes.
I love this anime. I was getting a little worried early on watching it, or the second season. I was like, oh no, is this going to get creepy anime? But it doesn't, thank God. But I loved it, and now I gotta wait a year for season 3 if there's season 3. So sadness. But that is it for me this week. So next week I'll probably have a review for The Other Waters.
Awesome. All right, let's kind of rapid fire through some of these questions.
Yeah.
So you can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays, or you can leave them in the Facebook group, Facebook page, and on Twitter using those hashtags. So Matt Lowe writes, did you guys play the Predator trial in game chat or party chat? I would say if you only played in party chat, there was a 10%. That was a 10% experience in atmosphere. As Predator, you can hear the player's distance behavior. As a fire team member, you can lose contact if you are at a distance. It's somewhat terrifying. If you're in a party chat, it is rubbish. Don't bother playing. There were volume issues solved by the options menu. Did you ever like or play Friday the 13th out of party chat? So first of all, pretty much if I'm on PS4 and I'm talking to anybody, I'm in a party chat. I never use in-game chat because they're terrible most of the time. But I did not know that this was a thing or an option in Predator. And I think I actually responded to this comment on Facebook that in their 4.5-minute loading screens, they could have told me that.
So I did know about this options. I didn't know about it until I started to play the game. But me and my friend, we jumped in it, and we used the in-game chat after being in a party by default. No one was using their microphones in the squad, so then we were just like, screw it, let's just go back to the party, because now we're at a disadvantage because we're using our microphones when no one else is. So then I just played it in party, but yeah. I only figured it out on accident, because when I was in a party with my friend, I was Predator and I killed someone, and I'm like, oh, you can hear the other players when you get close to them. I'm like, that's cool. And then we tried it, and then no one was using their mics after that. So then we went back to the party.
Yeah.
But the game did a bad job of explaining it, or they just didn't explain it.
And I think the game is out now, right?
No, it's coming out soon.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it was really weird. Like that. It wasn't necessarily like a bad experience. I mean, between that and the Resident Evil Resistance.
Yes.
Yeah. Predator's better. I was not a fan of the Resident Evil Resistance demo, but I just think that like tutorial wise, like, and maybe the full game will have a better tutorial. Yes, I know tutorials can be a little annoying, but when you're giving off a new thing of like controlling Predator, and maybe somebody doesn't really understand the nuances of Predator because maybe they didn't watch the movies, like I just think that there's a little bit more guidance that can be done, that even in a beta you want your guidance to be good because you're trying to sell the person on the game, and that's a feature that would be important and relevant.
So there, from what I remember in the beta, there was nothing that told me, unless I missed it. Again, my reading comprehension can sometimes be bad, but it didn't say like, hey, you would have a better experience using in-game chat for your squad, or using in-game audio to not be in a party. And I've played a game that uses the in-game chat and in-game microphone like in specific ways. It was called the Blackout Club, which was a 4-player co-op game where you're sneaking through a town, and the AI would listen to you in terms of potentially giving away your position, but it would also do cool things with your microphone if you only used in-game chat. It would like potentially react to specific things you said, or it would throw stuff you said back at you. It's weird how it isn't exactly like it'll figure out where you are based on your mics, but it would play around with the audio that you were inputting in the game only if you input using in-game chat. And they told you that and said, there was a pop-up around the lines of like, hey, use in-game chat over party chat. So like something like that would have been nice as a warning in Predator of like, hey, the best experience is to use in-game chat. That's all it needed, and that would have been probably helpful.
Tons of PC games do it. Like, yes, our game supports keyboard and mouse. However, we feel like the best experience would be played using a controller.
Yes. So like I hope they would put that option or put that verbiage somewhere when the full game comes out of it's like, hey, best experience, optimized experience, use in-game chat. And for the second question, I didn't play Friday the 13th. I remember it had a really tough, harsh launch, and that kind of soured on me from trying the game. I know they fixed it eventually, and it turned out to be a pretty good game. But
then it went
it's
like
one of those
belly up
things.
too, right? Like they just had to like stop doing something for it because of legal issues.
I think so, or they're
Yeah.
not allowed to make new content for it
Yeah.
because they don't have the rights to the Friday franchise anymore.
I never played it. I had a bunch of friends that had it, but I never picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Gray Ghost _13 on Twitter asks, Michael, let Dave speak for a brief moment on how he is feeling about this season of Destiny. I'm feeling down about what we are getting for seasonal content. Very boring. Since it takes me a while to get through the content, I would much rather have the DLC days back. He did offer me time to talk about wrestling or Overwatch, but I will not do that because I talked wrestling earlier. But yeah. Dave, a lot of people are pissed off about Destiny.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Well, I think I can tell you can tell easily how I'm feeling about it because I haven't talked about it because
yes,
I haven't been playing it. So that's partially because I am diligently trying to play on purpose to play other games. Like, yeah, I can just go and play Destiny and I could just play it and 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 play it, whether there's content or there isn't content. The seasonal aspect of it, and I saw this question today and I was thinking about this in the car a little bit just to make sure that I worded this correctly. So I'm all for games having and this is against what Grey Ghost is asking, and I know it because I know him well. I'm all for fear of missing out. Like, I think that is a viable way that you can present your game to people of you needed to be there and you needed to be on top of your game at the time to get some cool stuff. Like, I'm 100% behind and for that. I feel that Destiny is dramatically lacking that feeling in the game right now. And they actually talked a couple weeks ago about lessening that feel. Like they feel like that it might be too high, and I feel like it's not enough. The biggest problem that I have with Destiny currently, and it's also the same problem I have with The Division, and it's the same problem that I think that people are going to have with Call of Duty eventually. Because you have seasonal content and you also have the ability to pay for a battle pass, which gets you some cosmetics, mostly cosmetics, materials, and a weapon here or there. And you have to pay to get that seasonal content. So, like, if you want the Seraph weapons that are from Season of the Worthy, which is what's going on in Destiny 2 right now, you need to own Season of the Worthy's Battle Pass, which is $10, which is not a huge investment. However, continuing to balance around those weapons being added and new weapons being added every season, but still allowing your player base to not necessarily invest in every season, causes you to make bland and boring weapons. And when you make bland and boring weapons, it makes your drive and your want to level up less. There is nothing that has come out over the last almost 9 months now that has been deemed a must-have weapon that's been given to you through the seasonal content. The Vex weapons have been terrible. The Sundial weapons were cool looking, but you could still get open world drops that would be just as good in terms of the weapon archetype. And the same thing with the Seraph weapons. And then with each season, they've given you a seasonal exotic. And I feel like those exotics are being held back by fear of making them top tier or top meta weapons to where, hey, I can't get that because I wasn't playing 6 months ago. That's not fair. Like, and that I feel if you get killed by something in Crucible, or you can't do as much damage as I can do because I've been playing the game longer than you, tough shit. Like, and I'm sorry, like, but that's Destiny is missing that chaseable loot. Like Destiny 2 is missing that chaseable loot. Division doesn't appear to have that chaseable loot of why do I want that? Why do I want to go bash my head against the wall to constantly do something that either I'm not good at, or it's grindy feeling, or I need friends to do it to get mediocre stuff? Destiny 1 had top tier weapons that came from the raids. You had to play the raids to get to the top tier end level of the game. And for somebody like Michael, you're like, I don't want to do that. And that's fine. And you moved on and didn't play. You played a raid with us and you're like, I don't like this. I don't want to do it. Like, it's not worth it to me. Other people are like, I want that. Like, you have that and I want that because that means that I can do better at this. And the Call of Duty season pass, and they're on their third season now. And it's going to happen. There's going to be something that came out in season 1 or season 2 that's going to break that game. And the player base that's like, I wasn't around like 4 months ago that you let that guy pay to get that weapon. Like, that's not fair that he has that. You should just give that to me because I gave you money now. That is what's wrong with these games as a service right now. Like, who cares? Like, if you missed it, tough luck. Like, you should have been there. You should have been consistently leveling your character up. The catch-up mechanics that all these games have are fine because if you choose to come back, but you are still going to miss out on not being there and being present for something that was either cool or that was random that, you know, you needed to have. Like, there needs to be a balance to it. I get it. There has to be a balance to it. But at the same time, you make uninteresting loot. And the thing that I've been hearing the most from a lot of people that either play Destiny continuously, whether they're streamers or content creators or players that have moved away from Destiny or are still playing Destiny, is that there's a ton of stuff to do, but none of it means anything. So
did it feel good to get that off your chest?
it's fine. I mean, I still like the game. I understand what they're trying to do, and I do not want to go back to the DLC days because people seem to forget that, like, everybody's like, oh, Taken King was one of the greatest content releases that Destiny's ever had. Yes. From Labor Day or middle of September of that year, whatever year it was, till about Christmas, it was great. There was tons of stuff to do, but Christmas until like May or June was terrible. There was nothing added to that game. At least with this one, you're getting some kind of refresh every 90 days. Are those refreshes boring? Is the bunker system that they have in Season of the Worthy right now boring? Yes. But at the same time, they listen to player feedback about make it relevant for me to play Crucible and make it relevant for me to play Strikes and to play Gambit. And now they're rewarding you materials that you need by completing those activities to level up your bunkers. But then people are like, well, that's dumb. I want to play new content, not old content. And like I've said it before, like they can't win. No matter what they do, they can't seem to win. Like you bring out all this cool new stuff, but you have to pay for it. That's crap. I shouldn't have to pay for the new stuff. Like, I don't think you understand how businesses work.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not, it is what it is. I could go back into Destiny tomorrow and play it and level my thing up quickly enough that I wanted to. And I don't, because there's nothing in this season that I really want. So.
Destiny. Yeah. And Overwatch just hasn't had any good skins, so that kind of killed my motivation.
Yeah, so I mean, however it works for whatever. Some people level themselves up in any game because of the cosmetics. Some people level themselves up in any game because it's just fun to play and they enjoy playing with their friends. And some people go after the loot. And if I have friends that ask me to play Destiny, 100%, I'll load it up, whether it's on PC or a console. If you want to play Destiny, let me know. Figure something out, and I'll play. But if I'm going to go in there and just to play by myself right now, probably not.
There are other things to play that have some like motivation or carrot on a stick right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hussein Saeed asks, what games do you suggest I download for my Switch for my 4 and 6 year old daughters? He wants something that is kid friendly.
I'm actually surprised at how easy Super Mario Odyssey was for Owen to play.
That was going to be my suggestion too.
Owen's 4.5, and I half joked, but I was half serious about it. Like, it's been Mario Odyssey boss rush mode for me, because when he gets to a boss, it's like, here, Dad, play. And then when I'm done, he goes, I want to get the moon, and he gets the moon, and then he goes and does all the other stuff where he like buys the little random outfits, or he collects the coins, and he might have me get him to some platforming area or complete something for him, and then he'd be like, okay, thank you, and he'll ask for it back, and he'll try to continue and progress forward. He's pretty much unlocked every world himself, with small tidbits of help from me or my wife. When and for the most part, there's I don't really think there was anything like super challenging in there. And the game had assist mode, where if you like fell off, it put you in a bubble and put you back where you were, so you weren't like dying as much as you would be if you didn't have assist mode on. And it also, assist mode tells you where to go. It has arrows. So I was actually surprised by that. He also has Paw Patrol. He doesn't seem to be drawn to that as much as I thought he would be.
I feel like after Mario Odyssey, that might just be too basic.
Yeah, and it might have been a mistake that we made letting him play Odyssey before Paw Patrol.
Probably.
And then Lego games. Like, I've heard good things about Lego games, but we haven't picked any of them up yet. So
the only thing I hear from I don't have kids, but the one thing I hear is like the Lego games just have just a little too much depth for like younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
To them. That's why I think Odyssey works perfect, though, is because there's like the collection stuff the 4-year-old can do, and then your 6-year-old can engage in the more complex aspects of Mario. I was also going to suggest Splatoon, depending on how they deal with losing matches from time to time. Just because I know some kids can handle it more than others. Because Splatoon is just like a wholesome. It's a shooter, but you're just throwing paint. You have a paint gun, and it's very simple for like kids to understand, and there's some depth there as well as they learn more about the game. But it's just, you just have to cover the map with as much paint as you possibly can. So it's something like little kids can like figure out relatively fast, and it's, bright, colorful. And then there's also just standard stuff like Just Dance is fine. I just found out like Just Dance, because Sarah was interested in it, has a subscription service where it's like 500 songs that they like rotate in and out for like $5 a month, which is kind of cool. But I think Mario Odyssey is like the main one that it's got stuff for like the 4-year-old, and it has enough like depth to it that the 6-year-old can engage with it a little bit more. And they could probably work together with it, just like how Dave's working together with Owen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question.
I think we kind of answered this, right? Or no,
no, this is a different one.
Since Michael is secretly preparing for the inevitable corona zombie outbreak by watching post-apocalyptic movies and shows, I'm curious to what he's decided would be his go-to vehicle and weapon combination for when he's roaming the future wastelands of North America.
That question is from Josh Insan, I want to say. Okay, so I grew up loving zombie movies, so I've thought about this a lot since I was a kid. I wouldn't drive a vehicle around, mostly because that would make too much noise. I feel like I would have to run it on foot. But you don't really see them drive too much in The Last of Us, except towards like the end. It's because it just makes too much noise. Go-to weapon, most people would say like some sort of firearm. Again, noise is a problem with firearms. So you're probably going to have to go with like a baton or a machete. Machete for zombies, baton for humans you just want to knock out. I would probably say that would be my go-to options, but I'm also of the mind that I wouldn't travel around during a zombie apocalypse. I would just fortify my home and just try and wait it out as much as possible before leaving my home. Dave, do you have any sort of zombie apocalypse ideas? Would you drive around during a zombie apocalypse, or? Probably not, right?
Yeah,
not at first.
I don't think so. And then I think I'm kind of with you. That would be more of like makeshift weapons of like somehow to take a 2x4 and make it like stronger. But
Dead Rising this shit.
Yeah, it's not reusability.
Yeah, like a gun will only take you too far, and it'll just attract people and zombies. So, yeah. Probably want to fortify your own home.
Don't get me wrong, though. With all this stuff that's been going on, there's a couple places like Costco's and Sam's and the BJ's of the world, the membership supermarkets. The one by my house had gas for like 87 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And I was tempted to like go buy some barrels and have some extra gas laying around. Like,
right? Like, I almost want to go into bunker mode. You know, you have the Fallout shelter people, and I'm just like, they're probably really comfortable right now quarantine, using all their stockpiles of stuff.
The amount of people's inability to listen to the things that would help them possibly prevent the spread of this virus is fascinating to me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They're not knowing. I'm not expecting you to sit there and know exactly how much 6 feet is, but if you can touch me, you're too close.
Yes.
So, and then the misunderstanding of like what the masks are for and the gloves and
how to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And just the common misconception of like people feeling like they need to dip their groceries in Bactine before they bring them home.
Yeah. But no, I've definitely had those moments when I went at the grocery store, and usually if you're looking at fruit or vegetables, you pick up them, feel them, and see how they are, and you put them back on the shelf until you find good ones. And I started to do that when I was at the grocery store, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I can't do that anymore. I have to like visualize the stuff that I'm learning.
You can, but you just need to make sure that if you're gonna do that, like you wear gloves, and then when you get home,
touch your face.
And try not to touch your face, and then don't have your cell phone in the store with you if at all possible, like, or leave it in your pocket, and then wash your hands and wash the fruit that you bought. But it doesn't mean that you need to take your cereal box and power wash it.
Oh yeah. That's true. Yeah, you don't need to like overdo it. Maybe give it a quick wipe down with like a Lysol rag, but that's about it. Yeah. Depending on what you picked up. So,
just be a little bit more self-aware. That's all this is being right now. Do a little bit more shopping online. You know, to help those people. Like, we don't really go into grocery stores right now. We do a lot of the online pickups, and then we just tip the people that take care of it for us. You know, because thankfully, I'm one of the few people that like I'm lucky enough that financially it hasn't impacted us as much as it has everybody else. And if you can make sure that you do your part to help other people where possible, like that's the most important thing. Whether that's going to your Chinese restaurant maybe twice a month instead of once a month, just to make sure that they're still there next month.
Or order delivery takeout, and if you want to keep your contact down with the person, a lot of services are being like, you can mark a no contact delivery. Well, they'll just text you that the food's on your porch. That's fine. I've been ordering out a lot lately, and it's been one of those things. But even at the same time, I'm ordering out, and I'm just like, I feel really shitty for doing this. But also, if I didn't do this, that business would probably suffer because they're not getting the normal stuff in. But then I just compensate by over tipping. Like I'm tipping way harder than I've tipped before. I used to always be the standard 10% person. Now I'm like going way above that.
Don't forget about the core people that consistently do this, like your mailman.
Yeah.
Like, please don't forget about him, because I have sometimes a tendency to forget about him. Like our mail service is even here. Like this is like, I think a first in my lifetime has gone to every other day. So,
really?
Yeah. And I think that has to do with a little bit of just the amount of staff that they currently have, or that people that are comfortable working. I'm not 100% for sure why. But it doesn't I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything in the mail. Like sometimes I don't even check the mail till like Tuesday or Wednesday after Monday. But just the little different things that are happening. And then just, if you're out and about, just be polite and thank the people for working.
I always say this, don't be a dick to the people at retail.
Yeah. Anywhere. And
they're trying.
Please don't freak out when you hear that a store like a Kroger or a Meijer or a Walmart or wherever you're going has COVID, that somebody had corona in there, or there was a confirmed case. Like, it's pretty much to be expected, as many people that are going in and out of those buildings. But that's also why the stores aren't open 24 hours anymore, because they're cleaning their stores.
Yeah.
So
I was in the Jewel, the grocery store, and someone was complaining that the lines were too long. And it was just like, hey, this is all the staff that they have. Shut the fuck up. Deal with it. You didn't have to be out. Like,
so yeah, that's our spotlight. How to be nice to people during the COVID crisis. So, but yes, please just follow us on any of the socials. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. That's actually a little longer than I thought it was going to be. But you can follow us on all the social networks: Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Discord. Those are places that we're very active. Join the Facebook group. There's always a great conversation going on in there, as well as join Discord. Discord's gotten a little quiet lately, but it goes in peaks and valleys. So please go ahead and join the Discord. Those links should all be in your show notes. Follow the main account at Digital Days Pod on Twitter. You can follow Michael at the First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. And then we do have a Patreon, so patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, where you can subscribe to the $1 tier, which is our virtual tip jar, the $3 tier, which gets you access to a private channel in Discord. You can also get that if you subscribe to us on Twitch. You'll get access to that, presuming that you link your Patreon and your Twitch to your Discord account. Michael. And then you have the $5 early access where you'll get our podcast 24 hours early. So typically that's Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning before the Thursday at 6 o'clock in the morning time release Eastern time. And then there's a $7 tier for bonus content, which we really need to do that before Michael goes back to work.
Yes.
And then if you are currently a supporter for us on Patreon, first of all, thank you guys very much for that. And then just go ahead and check your status if you're still not getting something that you're supposed to be getting. When I had to change the tiers around a little bit, I know some stuff had to get wonky a little bit, and some things might need to be reassigned. So if for some reason you're not getting early access and you are paying for the $5, please reach out to myself or Michael directly and we can help you with that, or go into Patreon and look and see. You might have to just click your tier and just resubscribe to it. You're not repaying for it, you're just saying I'm in that tier. So it's something that has to do with your relationship status in Patreon. But when we changed the tiers, it did that. It kind of like reset people. So next week I hope to have some more. I truly hope to have some impressions of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I just got to give myself the motivation to play it. I will stream it. Michael said he should have that review next week, hopefully, which would be great.
Yeah.
I need to go back to Division 2 and finish that so I can review that. Some of this COVID stuff kind of just got on the way, but so we can try to get a little bit back on track. So thank you guys so much for listening. Michael, do you have anything else?
No, just wash your hands, be nice to people. We'll get through this. Stay home. Get through this faster.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week, and we will talk to you guys later.
See you.